coronavirus, COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2, SARS, and they all in essence mean the exact same thing here. This virus is a RNA virus. What I mean by that, the genetic signature inside this virus, that little curly, is made of RNA that can reproduce. But most importantly, the virus has on its
Hello, everyone. Since now it's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Beijing time. So now let's begin our online conference. I'm the moderator of today's online conference. I'm myself a student from THU, Tsinghua University, Tsinghua College. I serve as program director for SABRI, Student Association of Belt and Road Initiative. First, I'd like to thank you, everyone, to give my earnest gratitude to everyone present today and the PAL China Online Conference on coordinated efforts against COVID-19. Whether you come here as a speaker, a guest, or an audience. I feel very humbled and honored to moderate the conference, but as a youth, and also SABRI as a youth association. Young generations have all the obligation and duty to shoulder more responsibility in times of such disasters at the level of the entire human race. We are all very privileged to have distinguished guests from China and Nepal. So first, please allow me to introduce them. First, we have Sushil Kumar Lamzo, Charge d'Affaires from Nepal Embassy. We have Mr. Ramesh Maharajan, Mayor of Kirtipur Municipality in Nepal. We have Mr. Liu, Deputy Mayor of Huanggang Municipality, Hubei Province from China, and all his colleagues from Huanggang Municipality and Huanggang Prevention and Control Command of COVID-19. We have Dr. Kane Karki, advisor from the Nepal Ministry of Health and Population. We have Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani, advisor from the Nepal Ministry of Health and Population. We have Professor Uttam Krishna Shrestha, Executive Director of Manmohan Cardiothoracic, Vascular and Transplant Center, Institute of Medicine, TU. We have Professor Bhagwana Koryana, Head of Department, Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgery, and also President of the Nepal Medical Council. We have Dr. Zhao Jia from Beijing Tibet Hospital, China Tibetology Research Center. We have Dr. Feng from Beijing Tibet Hospital, China Tibetology Research Center. We have Dr. Zhou, Wuhan Tongji Hospital, and Tongji Medical School of HSTU. And we also have Dr. Lu Yang, Research Fellow, Tsinghua Institute of Belt and Road Initiative. And among all of that, we have all other doctors from both Nepal and China who are willing to spend their time today with us to discuss our measures against COVID-19. So first, let us give us our warmest welcome to Mr. Sushil Kumar Lamzo to give us an opening speech from the embassy. Let's welcome. Mr. Sushil Lamzo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good afternoon, all. Warm greetings and namaskar from the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing. Moderator Chen Chonghao, Program Director of SABRI, officials from the Ministry of Health and Population of the Government of Nepal, Mayor Ramesh Mahajan of Kirtipur and Deputy Mayor Mr. Liu of Huanggang City, distinguished guests, panelists from Nepal and China, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good warm afternoon and ni hao. The novel coronavirus disease epidemic is a major health emergency that has spread the fastest, caused the most extensive infections, and has been the hardest to contain. According to the Johns Hopkins University's dashboard, as of today, the total confirmed number of COVID-19 infections has passed the grim milestone of 2 million. And the number of deaths has also reached 154,000. The US has been the hardest hit so far, followed by Spain, Italy, France, Germany, UK, China, Iran, Turkey, and Belgium in that order. In New York City alone, 13,202 people have perished. In our immediate neighborhood, China has achieved remarkable success in containing the virus within a relatively short period of time, even though there are many other challenges that remain, particularly those of asymptomatic cases and imported cases. The challenge is to preserve the successes achieved so far. In South Asia, on the other hand, the outbreak is rapidly spreading, adding to the threat that the novel coronavirus has brought globally. And in a specific context in Nepal, we need to be very careful about not letting our guard down. As Chinese President Xi Jinping has said, the novel coronavirus has tested the state government system and its capacity. The whole country was mobilized to take the most comprehensive and rigorous preventive and control measures. All provincial governments have launched a high-level emergency response, taking effective actions and variety of measures and technical means to prevent further infections. The Chinese government's comprehensive, strict, and thorough prevention and control measures have earned applause and extensive support from the international community. Dozens of countries moved to China and providing the much-needed emergency medical supplies and message of solidarity have been noted. I believe the pandemic has tested not just China's capacity to contain the virus, but also practically every country and every profession in the world. At the forefront of the fight against the virus, the challenges faced by the medical profession are enormous, especially in countries with lower incomes and poorer health infrastructures. The value of critical care facilities such as ICU beds, ventilators has come to the fore. At this important juncture in the fight against the virus, some of the most critical tools in our collective fight are sharing of information, knowledge, and expertise. Today's seminar is doing just that, namely providing a platform of sharing the experiences by Chinese experts with their Nepali counterparts. The embassy is honored to be part of this noble effort in bringing the professionals from both countries in one platform. I hope that it will be a valuable point of departure and will be replicated many times in the future. Let me extend my sincere appreciation and thanks to Sabri and its Nepal chapter for making this happen. Throughout this epidemic, we've been experiencing quite a few innovative practices, online conferences being one of them. It has emerged as a very useful tool to remain close and connected in the social protocol and in disseminating useful information, sharing critical knowledge and good practices, and supporting joint collaboration and combating against the pandemic. A cursory glance at the putative questions prepared for this conference suggests how difficult the choices for the doctors and nurses can be. One is, when hospitals get overburdened with numerous cases, leaving it no options than to discharge mild cases. As we saw in places like in Italy, doctors have been forced to choose between two patients. Who should be put on the ventilator and who not? Some of these questions have indeed tested not just what we have, but also what we are as doctors, as human beings. I understand that there are no definitive answers to these questions that straddle between economics, politics, and morality, but there is no doubt that greater interactions and discussions between those who have had to face such situations can help us ask better informed questions and to save precious lives. I see that we have with us today highly qualified panelists from both Nepal and China. Wuhan Tongji Hospital is now very familiar name for all of us at the embassy as we maintain close contact with students from this prestigious institution at the height of the pandemic in China in January and February, and as we coordinated the process of sending back Nepali students from Wuhan in February. There are many students from Nepal studying at distinguished medical institutions in different parts of China, including many of those represented here today. Our sincere thanks for the strong support that Tsinghua University has provided to the embassy's efforts in the past, as well as for this conference. Sincere thanks to Dr. Cho of Wuhan County Hospital, as well as Dr. Yu, Xinjiang Hospital of Sichuan, and Dr. Jiao and Dr. Fan from Beijing Tibet Hospital, and for countless others with recorded great help. In Nepal, sincere thank you to Professor Bhagwan Koirala, Professor Uttam Krishnan Shrestha, Professor Vishwas Pradhan, Professor Ratnamani Gazurel, Dr. Ranjan Sapkota, Dr. Ken Karki, Dr. Gunaraj Sohani, Dr. Anup Bastala, Dr. Sher Bahadur Kamar, Dr. Ava Shrestha, Dr. Rupak Bandari, and Dr. Alok Pradhan. Heartfelt thanks go to Mr. Praveen Maharjan, Sabris Nepal Country Director, and Hazin Chongshu Shia, Executive Director of Sabris University, without whose hard work this conference would not have been possible. I'm glad that such an illustrious galaxy of medical experts has found time to join this seminar. I'm confident that the seminar will therefore benefit a lot from their valuable presence and participation and in combating against the pandemic. Finally, I would like to wish today's conference full success and hope that it will help us better prepare for the prevention and control of COVID-19 in Nepal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sujat Kumar Lamso, for such an articulate speech, showing us how two nations, China and Nepal, has been cooperating with each other on such measures against COVID-19, which has also opened us a great window for us for future discussions. I believe Mr. Sujat Kumar Lamso's speech has opened a broad field for further discussions. Since the measures against COVID-19 mainly falls into two categories, made by policymakers at government level and implemented by doctors in hospital level. So now at the first level, let's welcome Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani from the Nepal Ministry of Health and Population. Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani, can you hear me? Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani, can you hear me? Okay, maybe Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani has some technical problem with his device. So now let's just switch this order of the speeches. And so now let's welcome Dr. Ken Karki, who is also Ministry of Health and Population, who is the colleague of Dr. Gunal Raj Lahani. Could you please give us a speech on the Nepal condition on coronavirus? Okay, so now there might be some problem with some technical issues on the device. So, okay, so our initial plan was to hear the voices from the Nepal government first, and hear the voices from Chinese government next. Now there's some technical problem with the device. So, so let's warmly welcome Dr. Mayor Liu, the Deputy Mayor of Hong Kong City. Could you please tell us how Chinese government has been doing to put the pandemic under control in barely 2 months? Just how you're able to do this. Could you please share out with your experience? Thank you very much.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Very good.
Yeah, okay. Distinguished guests, dear friends, good afternoon. Next, I give you a brief introduction about the situations and conditions about COVID-19 of Hong Kong City.
黄冈市位于湖北省东部，1万毗邻，总人口750万。今年1月22日，我市发现首例新冠肺炎确诊病例。截止3月2日，全市累计报告确诊病例2907例，再无新增。确诊病例中，现出于2782例，病例9%。
Fenggang City is located in the east of Hubei province, adjacent to Wuhan City, with a population of 7.5 million. The first confirmed case of COVID-19 was found in our city on January 20 this year. On March 2, 2,907 confirmed cases were reported totally, but no new further cases since then. Among the confirmed cases, 2,782 cases were cured and discharged with a cure rate of 95.7%.
疫情发生以来，在党中央坚强领导下，我们始终把人民群众的生命安全和身体健康放在第一位，扎实开展疫情防控工作，取得了阶段性的重要成效。
Since the outbreak of the epidemic, under the strong leadership of the CDC Central Committee, we have always put people's life, safety, and health in the first place, carried out the prevention and control of the epidemic in a down-to-earth manner, and got important achievements in stages.
第一个方面是全力以赴救治患者。
The first experience I would like to share is we go all out to treat patients.
整合全市医疗资源，我们设立了新冠肺炎定点医院31家，救治病床4287处，第一次病例收治32处，病房2310间，发热病人集中收治点95处，病房1919间。 市区用3天时间紧急改造大别山医疗区中心，新增1000张，保证了所有患者应治尽治。同时，集中专家、集中患者、集中资源、集中救治的原则，不惜一切代价救治患者。
Actually, we distributed and utilized the medical resources in a coordinated manner. We set up 31 designated hospitals with 4,287 beds, 32 designated clinics with 2,311 wards for suspected cases, 95 places with 1,919 wards for concentrated treatment for febrile patients. We took 3 days to urgently renovate the Dabieshan Regional Medical Center, adding 1,000 beds, ensuring that all patients should be treated as soon as possible.
我们组织全市7000多名医护人员和外省支援的1200多名医护人员投入救治工作，共开放 ICU 病床229张，所有重症病人全部收治 ICU 病房。
Secondly, we adhere to the principle of a concentration of experts, patients, resources, and treatment, and treat patients at all costs. More than 7,000 medical staff in the city and over 1,020 medical staff supported by other provinces have put into the treatment work. A total of 229 ICU beds have been opened. All critical ill patients have been admitted to ICU wards.
我们实行多学科的联合会诊，落实1人1个诊疗方案，着力提高救治率，降低死亡率。
And a multidisciplinary consultation have carried out implement the one person, one policy diagnosis and treatment plan, focusing on improving the cure rate and reducing the disease rate.
我们重视对轻症患者的早期治疗，最大限度地减少轻症重症转危症。充分发挥中医药的特色优势，中医药的使用率和临床治疗总效率均超过了90%。
We attach importance to the early treatment of mild patients to minimize the conversion from mild to severe and severe to critical. Give full play to the advantages of traditional Chinese medicine. The utilization rate of traditional Chinese medicine, the total effective rate of clinical treatment are more than 90%.
我们坚持早发现、早治疗，不 不断增加检测设备和检测人员。目前全市累计检测核酸样本21.6万份，对所有疑似病例、发热病例、密切接触者和有关重点人员做到了应检尽检，为及时救治、预防赢得了主动。
Thirdly, adhere to early detection and early treatment, constantly increase testing equipment and treat personnel. The city tests a total of 216,000 nucleic acid samples. All suspected cases, febrile patients, close contacts, and relevant key personnel should be checked as much as possible. It has won the initiative for timely treatment and prevention.
第二个方面，我们做的是要精准精细做好阻隔。
The second experience I would like to share is accurately and meticulously blocking.
我们发动居民个人、家庭、社区和社会面联防联控，有效阻断疫情的传播。
We mobilized all social aspects like individual, family, community to make joint prevention and control, so as to efficiently block the spread of the epidemic.
这我说的话就有吧？
封闭式管理，所有小区
关灯，
这个是开着吧，绿了。
所有车辆一律从严管控。从疫情防控需要超市和药店外，企业和商店推迟复工复业，要延迟开学。动员居民非特殊情况不外出，最大限度地减少人员流动。
The implementation of a closed management, all residential areas were closed. All vehicles were strictly controlled, except for the production enterprises, supermarkets, and pharmacies needed for epidemic prevention and control. Enterprises and shops were postponed to consume work. Schools were delayed, and the residents were called on not to go out to minimize personnel mobility.
我们开展拉网式排查，发动1.3万个基层组织，20多万名基层党员干部，5000多名社区网格员，对全市所有居民的健康状况开展地毯式、拉网式的排查，到户率、到人力均达到100%。
We launched a survey and mobilized 13,000 grassroots party organizations and over 200,000 party members, cadres, and more than 5,000 social workers to do detective workers for the health of residents, and all the detections and surveys were finished 100%.
我们坚持集中式隔离，对所有确诊病例、疑似病例、不明原因的发热病人及其密切接触者，均实行集中隔离管理，安排足量医护人员和服务专班对他们进行医疗救治和医学观察，有效管控传染源，阻断疫情传播。
Adhere to the centralized isolation, implement centralized isolation management for all confirmed cases, suspected cases, patients with fever of unknown causes, and their close contacts, and arrange a sufficient number of medical personnel and special service groups to carry out medical treatment or medical observation on them, effectively control the source of infection and block the spread of the epidemic.
第三个方面呢，我们千方百计加强保障。
The third experience I would like to share is to do everything possible to secure supplies.
医用物资方面，通过上级调拨、紧急采购、社会捐赠、加快生产等多种方法，全市累计筹集防护服、N95口罩等医用物资3562万件，较好地保障了医护人员的防护需求。
In terms of medical materials, through superior allocation, emergency procurement, social donation, and speeding up production, the city collected a total of 35.6252 million pieces of medical materials. clothing and N95 masks, which better ensured the protection needs of medical personnel.
在市民生活物资保障方面，在严格防控的前提下，有序开放部分商超和市场，保证粮油、鸡蛋、猪肉、蔬菜等生活物资供应充足，价格平稳。在封闭管理期间，对居民生活物资实行集中配售，由党员干部、社区工作者、志愿者提供代购服务，对困难家庭给予临时生活经费补贴。
In terms of daily necessities, under the premise of strict prevention and control, some supermarkets and shops will be opened in an orderly manner to ensure adequate supply and stable prices of daily necessities, such as grain, oil, eggs, pork, and vegetables. During the period of closed management, centralized distribution of daily necessities for residents will be carried out. Purchasing services will be provided by party members, cadres, community workers, and volunteers, and temporary living subsidies will be given to families in need.
在公共服务方面，对电、气、网络通讯等公共服务权利保障，党政机关通过设立公共服务的市长电话、网上办公、线上审批等方式，为市民群众办事，保障社会稳定有序。
In terms of public services, such as water, electricity, gas, and network communications are fully guaranteed. The government departments serviced by means of hotline calls, online offices, and online examinations and approval, so as to ensure social stability and order.
经过艰苦努力，目前我市的疫情形势持续向好，生产生活秩序加快恢复。我市疫情防控取得的成效和经验，充分彰显了中国特色社会主义制度的优越性，充分彰显了中华民族一方有难八方支援的传统，也充分彰显了中华民族百折而保、爱国奉献的伟大精神。我们完全有信心、有能力夺取这场疫情防控斗争的全面胜利。
After painstaking efforts, the situation in our city continues to improve, and the order of production and life is accelerated. The achievement and experience of epidemic prevention and control in our city have fully demonstrated the remarkable advantages of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics, fully practiced the traditional Chinese culture of difficulties on one side and support from all sides. It also shows the great spirit of perseverance and the patriotic dedication of the Chinese nation. We are fully confident and capable of winning a full victory in this battle.
在这场抗疫斗争中，包括尼泊尔在内的国际社会对我们给予了大力支持和帮助，增强了我们战胜疫情的信心和决心。借此机会，我代表黄冈人民向你们表示衷心的感谢。我们愿同你们积极合作，及时分享抗疫的经验，共同应对疫情危机。相信在班纳里总统坚强领导下，尼泊尔人民一定能够早日战胜疫情。
In this struggle against the epidemic, the international community, including Nepal, has given us strong support and assistance, strengthened our confidence and determination to overcome the epidemic. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to you on behalf of the Huanggang people. We are willing to actively cooperate with you to share the experience timely and jointly respond to the epidemic crisis. I sincerely believe that under the strong leadership of your government, the Nepalese people will overcome the epidemic soon. Thank you.
我就讲这么多，谢谢。
Okay, that's all. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Mayor Liu, for first-hand front experience on how every sectors in Huanggang City are collaborating with each other in a combined effort against COVID-19. And as we all know, Huanggang City is almost the heart of the outbreak. It's very close to the Wuhan, which is the original spot of the entire starting point of the virus. But on the other hand, Good policies need to be implemented by steady hands. So next, let's welcome Dr. Zhou from Wuhan Tongji Hospital, Tongji Medical School of HSTU. He is going to share with us some field experience on how to save Wuhan City, save Wuhan people by means of prevention, diagnostic, screening, and medical treatment.
Hi, hello everyone. This is Ning Zhou. I'm from Tongji Hospital, Wuhan. It's my great honor to have me here. I would like to share some clinical experience, is good or bad, to share this experience with you, and I hope it helps. So the title of my topic is clinical management of the critical severe COVID-19 patient. So this is my self-introduction. Actually, I'm a cardiologist. Since the last 2 months, I have worked in the ICU ward since Feb 10th. And what one of the most important job is to manage the most severe patient with a very severe circulatory failure, respiratory failure, and very severe hypoxemia. And this is a summary of the COVID-19 report from the Chinese. So far we have already, this is a summary of the COVID-19 patient. We included 72,000 cases in this report. So around 80% of the patients are mild, and around 20% of them are severe and critical severe patient. You know, for the treatment of the COVID-19 patient, the most important part is to reduce the mortality rate of the patient with a severe or critical severe type. So for the case fatality rate of the patient, look, if the patient is older than 90 years old, then the mortality rate is really high, it's around 50%. And if the patient is a critical one, that means half of them will die. So the most important task for us to reduce the mortality is to manage the critical and very old patient very well. So in conclusion, we have some experience about the clinical characteristic of the patient. And the first one is the very high incidence to develop from the very mild or very moderate type into a very severe or critical severe type. So it's around 20%. And secondly, if the patient is severe or critical severe, the mortality rate is very, very high. It's around 60%. And thirdly, if the patient is severe or critical severe, that means he will have a multiple organ injury. So we ever think that the COVID-19 just targeted lungs, but it actually is not. We found that the target of the COVID-19 includes the lungs, the heart, and also the kidney and liver. So it's a multiple organ injury. And the last one is the patient. The condition of the patient will deteriorate very, very fast. Just be very, very careful about the severe and the critical type of severe patient. The patient was very good, but just a couple minutes, just a couple hours later, it will die. So be very careful about the severe patient. So as a cardiologist, I'm very interested about the complication of the cardiovascular disease with COVID-19. So this chart showed that if the patient died from COVID-19, that means there's 48% of patients have hypertension, and 31% of patients of this patient have diabetes, and 24 of them will have a coronary heart disease. So that's very, very high, you know. For this patient, these three kind of complications are very important indicator for the outcomes and the diagnosis of the patient. So another, even worse, if the patient have a myocardial injury, like the serum levels of the troponin I is very high, that's also a very important indicator or predictor for the patient to develop into a very severe or critical severe type. So in the deceased COVID-19 patient, the positive troponin I is around 46%. And this is our data. We showed here the differences of the phenotype of the patient with positive and negative troponin I. For those troponin I positive patient is much older, most of them are male, and the coronary heart disease is much higher than the negative one. And also look at the mortality rate. That's terrible. That means 90% of patients with troponin I positive will die. So that's very, very high, much higher than the negative troponin I patient. So also the patient will have a heart failure evidenced by a very high liver of the anti-pro-BNP. So this is the mortality rate between the troponin I positive and the negative patient. This is the 2 weeks in hospital mortality. Look, the survival rate of the patient with a positive troponin I is much, much lower. That means if the patient have a myocardial injury, it definitely will die if you cannot get a very good or very effective management for him. So the general treatment for the COVID-19 includes rest, monitoring, and oxygen therapy. And also, because he is China, we have some very good traditional Chinese medicine for him. Here I provide a link below the screen. It is a guideline for our Chinese doctor, was published by the China National Health Commission on March 4. I think that helps for you. So for the treatment of the severe and the critical severe patient, apart from the very general treatment, we need to provide a respiratory support and immunotherapy, blood purification, and circulation support. And the last choice is ECMO. Around 20% of the COVID-19 patients will develop into a severe or critical severe type. So if patients have met at least one item of the following: respiratory failure, shock, and combined with other organ failure, need ICU monitoring and management, that means the patient is in a very, very great dangerous. So what if the patient still have very severe hypoxemia on ventilation? You know, in the ICU world, we don't have many choices, you know. For this very, very severe respiratory failure, we have to do the ventilation for him, including the non-invasive and invasive ventilation. So this is the last option we can have. So what if the patient still have very severe hypoxemia if they already have a ventilation? So the answer is ECMO. So here I will like to go through very quickly about a critical ill case. So this patient is 50 years old. Mr. C admitted on February 11 this year, and the chief complaint is 11 days fever and short breath for 2 days. Here is the video showed that he has a very, very significant lung lesion for both sides, right? So his coronavirus test is positive. So for this patient, we did some lab tests for him. Look, there's a very low lymphocyte proportion. So this is a very important indicator for the patient to predict his outcome or prognosis. If the lymphocyte proportion is very low, that's not a good sign. That means this patient is probably developed into a very severe or critically severe type. And also we test a very high NT-proBNP. It is a biomarker of heart failure and a very high troponin I. Okay, so the echo showed that his ejection fraction is also very low. That means is signs of heart failure. We give some very general treatment for him, but unfortunately, his hypoxemia was getting worse and worse. This is X-ray just took 2 days before he was transferred into ICU. We give some additional treatment in ICU, including the intubation and the ventilation, and also the prompt position ventilation was performed, but unfortunately, his oxygenation index is still very low. You know, for a very healthy or normal person, the oxygenation index should be higher than 300. For our healthy people, it's around 300 to 400 millicuries, but his is only 95. So the ABG showed that he had a very low pH, low PO2, and low SpO2. So in this condition, this patient is very, very dangerous because of very severe hypoxemia. And the next choice we have is to do the ECMO. After a very comprehensive discussion, we decide to do the ECMO bedside for him. So we did the ECMO, we implanted the ECMO on February 18, 2020. And this picture, the left one, is took just a few minutes after we finished the implementation at bedside. And the right one shows that his SpO2 goes up very quickly. That means the ECMO works very, very well. And also after the treatment for another 2 weeks, look, the CT scan for this patient is getting much better. The left one is took before 2 days before the not 2 days, 2 days after the admission, and the right one is just 1 day after the win of the ECMO. It's getting much better, and this patient get very good recovery. This one took just when that day we removed the ECMO system for him, and he was already discharged at March 20. He can talk, he can walk, he can laugh, he looks very healthy like the normal person. And this is summary of this case. We give some not very specific treatment for him. This is antivirus drugs, biotics, systematic occurred, the steroid, and this is duration for the ICU stay. And also we did the invasive ventilation and including the ECMO. So this X-ray and the CT scan image show that the patient get a very good recovery for the lung lesion after the treatment of ECMO. So far, we have finished 5 cases of the ECMO and 4 already weaned off. That's get a very good recovery and discharge. And there's still 1 is ongoing, 4 male and 1 female. And for VV ECMO and just 1 VA ECMO. The average age for this patient is 55.6 years old, age from 44 to 68, and duration is 9.2 days. So in the last slide, I would like to say thank you to my patient because they are the heroes of Wuhan city because they fight against the virus together with us by using their bodies. So yes, we fight against the virus with our drugs and with our techniques, but they fight against with their bodies. And these 5 pictures is was the 5 cases received the ECMO treatment, and the 4 cases already discharged. And these 2, the first one is VV ECMO, and the second one VA ECMO. And the last 2 ECMO is very special because they removed the intubation first, and they wean off the ECMO later. So they are awake ECMO. And I already published a paper which shows some evidences that the awake ECMO might be better for the recovery of the very severe COVID-19 patient. So thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zhou, for sharing with us his touching experience and focus specifically on clinical management. I think because clinical management plays a very decisive part in the treatment, many of the panel doctors will have many questions, follow-up questions on that, and I think I will leave them in the following discussion part. So now let's move on. Wuhan doctors have fought very bravely against COVID-19, which buys very valuable time for other regions and places, not only in China, but also all over the world. Next, let's welcome Dr. Zhao Jia from Beijing Tibet Hospital to talk about COVID-19 from another angle. How is traditional medical treatment working in association with modern medical method in the fight against COVID-19? Hello, Dr. Zhao Jia. Can you hear me?
喂，能听见吗？
Yeah, we can hear you. 能听见。
哦，谢谢。我这没视频，所以抱歉啊，我就语音吧，好吧？
Okay, yes. So allow me to be the interpreter for Dr. Zhao Jia. What he's saying is that he is not available for video call now. So just we can only hear his voice, but I think he will just make the presentation as live as possible with only his voice. 賈家医生，我们现在开始吧。
好嘞，谢谢。首先非常荣幸啊，已经这个参与这个尼泊尔的这个专家学者们一起谈到这个疫病，所以的话，我从藏医的这个角度啊，我就谈到我自己的一些看法，好吧？然后呢，我就大概说，第一，我们藏医药学的这个理论的框架的话，就是说，第一的话就是藏医五元学的理论体系，藏医五元学就是土、水、火、风、空5大元素的基本因素的一个体系，或者是确切的说，就是更多的是土或水，还有那个火4大块的元素基本的一个理论体系。然后五元学。
Please, would you please allow me to do the interpretation for you? 你能让我翻译吗？
这个五元学说就是理论自始至终吧，可以说是贯穿了这个藏医的胚胎学、解剖生理学、还有病理学、诊断学、治疗学和这个药剂学整个学科的这个领域。所以藏医理论本身就是一个全面的、比较科学的一个理论。所以藏医的诊断和这个治疗都是基于这样一个理论来进行的。将这个发生的疾病的那个内因或者是外因，还有人体的这个内部的世界和这个外部的世界，主因和这个次因就有结合起来，所以从全面和统一的高度进行对待。如果分析和处理这种机构的话，辩证的统一的理论观，或者说是藏医在这个预防保健，还是在这个治病 治学上都具有一个重要的一个指导的一个作用。我就直接说吗
小佳医生，你得让我有时间给您翻译，就是您现在得停一停，这样我才能。
这一块就完了，你就这个翻译一下，
Okay.
好吧
Okay. So what Dr. Jolly has just said is that he is very happy to have the chance to talk with you, all the fellow doctors, on the issues regarding coronavirus. But he wants to share his personal experience from the angle of Tibetan medicine, which is a very specific type of traditional Chinese medicine. The Tibetan medicine is mainly based on the 5-source theory system. The 5-source theory system consists of soil, water, fire, wind, and air as the basic elements. But more specifically, it's more focused on the 4 elements of soil, water, fire, and wind. The 5-source theory is the core of Tibetan medicine. And the theory of Tibetan medicine itself is a very comprehensive and scientific theory. The diagnosis and treatment are based on a theory that organically combines the internal and external causes of the diseases, which means respectively to the internal and external words of human body, the major and minor causes, so as to analyze in a comprehensive and unified manner. 小佳医生，请继续。
好，谢谢。然后就是这是第一块，第二大块的话就是3大基因学的这个基因学术的理论体系。3大这个理论体系就是藏医学中的这个根本的一个理论体系。所以说，这个古代藏族人民认识事物的一种哲学观吧，或者是一个预主观。所以藏医学中这个讲到人体里从那个3大因素的话，就是龙、吃霸、培根，这就是我们3大那个三义学说。所以三义学说支配着气大物质基础和这个3种排泄物的运动的一个变化。在一定的条件下的话，就上述3者这个龙气培根保持着相互协调，维持人体正常的一个生理的一个功能的一个活动，属于这个生理性的。如果3大因素中的某一种或者是其中由于某些原因出现紊乱的话，就是处在这个病类的一个状态，也就是说生病了吧。咱们这个平时说的就是龙吃霸培根，这个3者各有自己的特性和功能，但3者并不是独立而相互扶持相干的，不是相互不相干的，他们是怎么说嘛，互相影响，密切的这个相关，而且说是相互依存和相互制约，各有各种各可其之吧。在这个藏医学的认为，这个藏医3大基因学说就是人体进行正常这个生理活动和出现病症的一个根本的一个原因，就是说藏医学的这个根本的一个理论体系就是藏医学的这个3大基因。这一块你翻译一下好吧。
Okay, so what Dr. Jiajia has just talked about is another theoretical system, which is called the 3-cause theory systems. The 3-cause theory system is the fundamental theoretical system in Tibetan medicine, and it also concludes a philosophical and cosmic view of viewing the world. In Tibetan medicine, the 3 major factors are Long, Shiba, and Paikon. The 3 factors dominate the 7 material bases and the movement of 3 etc. Under certain conditions, the 3 factors coordinate with each other and maintain the normal physiological functions of the human body. If the one or more of the 3 major factors go disordered, it will lead to sickness. Long, Shiba, and Paikon each have their own characteristics and functions, but the 3 are not only independent and irrelevant, they're closely related and mutually restrictive. The Tibetan medicine believes the 3-cause theory of Tibetan medicine are the basic causes of normal physiological activities and symptoms of the human body, and serve as the fundamental theoretical system of Tibetan medicine. 小佳医生，请继续。
好嘞，谢谢。然后第二的话就大概的说一下这个藏医对疾病的一个认识。然后咱们这个千百年来说的话，就是青藏高原吧，或者这个疾病做斗争的这个历史进程中吧，积累了许多这个宝贵的经验和不可忽视的一些治疗的一些手段，尤其在疫病、传染病的这个防病和治病方面尤为突出，并具有一定的一些特色。我们比如说，我们翻开这个藏医药学历史，清楚的记载了几千年前也有传染并隔离的这样的一个先进思想。不可否认。
喂 ，OK，
能听见吗？能听见是吧？
Yeah。
好嘞。所以咱们就不可否认，说是这个隔离虽然是一个非常原始的一个行为， 在目前而言的来说的话，也就是最有效的一种方法。所以在几千年前，我们藏医药里头就有这个隔离这个意识，还有这个方法。其后呢，就8世纪初或者7世纪末吧，新制的藏医经典里面已经有非常详细的记载了这个疫病，比如说天花、白户，然后这个急性的一个痢疾，还有流行性的感冒的一个认识，断定反正细菌或病毒是传染病的外因。我们藏语俗称就是 SIN， 它的一个诊断、治疗、预防、传播途径，也就是说的非常的清楚，非常的详细。我也拜读过各类这个传统的医学史，敢断言藏医学是比较系统的论述或者传染病的最具有代表性的一个传统的医学之一吧。而后呢，就是我们这个藏医大家们对医病的更进一步的深入的研究和这个积累经验吧，出现了非常全方位的一些藏医经典，对医病的总的认识、病因、诊断或者治疗、预防更加的系统化、科学化，而且呢，与现代医学可以媲美。所以如果我说的这些觉得有存疑的话、有怀疑的话，可以精细的翻译这个藏医药学的一些经典，足以证明此言的真实性。目前来说的话，藏医经典里已经记载了80多种传染性的疾病，而且很系统的可以说是很系统的描述了各种疫病的这个发病、诊断、治疗或者预防的一个过程，并预言今后含有人类的这个会出现各种各类的这样的一个传染病。好吧，这个你再翻一下。
Okay, for thousands of years, Tibet doctors have accumulated many experiences and treatments in the history of combating diseases, especially pandemics. In the prevention and treatment of epidemics, it is recorded in the history of Tibetan medicine that for thousands of years, isolation has been the best way of treating pandemics. Although isolation somewhat seems primitive, it is currently the most effective method according to the documented knowledge of diagnosis, treatment, prevention of epidemics such as smallpox, influenza, rabies, etc. Personally, I have been reading many books about Tibetan medicine, and among various traditional medicines, Tibetan medicine is one of the most representative traditional medicine for systematic discussion of infectious diseases. Based on that, further in-depth research has emerged and many experience has been accumulated on the epidemic, and a very comprehensive Tibetan medicine classic has appeared, even compared to modern medicine. If you carefully read the vast Tibetan medicine classics, you'll be even more shocked by the overall understanding, etiology, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of the epidemic, even compared to modern medicine. At present, more than 80 infectious diseases have been recorded in Tibetan medicine, in Tibetan medical classics, along with its occurrence, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. 贾家医生，请继续。
好，谢谢。然后下面我就着重的谈谈这藏医对疫病的一些治疗或者预防的一些要点。我从4个方面简单的陈述一下吧。然后首先的话，藏医药学核心的任务有2大块。第一呢，就是让人不得病，健康的活着，这是第一。第二的话，得了病要进行治疗，就这2个，这个总之就这2大块。所以藏医对健康的定义也有内外2大块，一就是心理健康，二就是生理健康，这就是藏医对健康的定义。心理健康的话，那2个里头的话来说的话呢，心理健康更为重要。所以心理不健康的话，比如说贪嗔痴，也就是我们称为3毒。所以过于贪婪，过于那个嗔恨，过于痴迷，就是心理疾病，也就是说不健康。所以的话，心理不健康或者导致了什么呢？生理不健康。如果心理不健康，就导致生理不健康。也就是说，3大因，刚才说的龙7、8胚给3大那个因素的紊乱，容易得病。心理不健康导致了什么呢？免疫系统的紊乱，机体免疫力的下降，容易得这个感染或者是病毒细菌。就比如说，咱们就是没有这个城墙的一个院子里头，小偷就可以随意的可以侵入吧。所以这样的一个比喻。所以藏医特别注重心理的健康。好，谢谢。你先翻这个，好吧？
Okay, the core tasks of Tibetan medicine are twofold. People should be healthy and alive after they got sick, and there are roughly 2 methods after being caught in sickness. Tibetan medicine has two major internal and external definitions. One is mental health, and the other is physical health. Mental health is particularly important because mental unhealthiness would lead to physical unhealthiness. Mental unhealthiness includes excessive greed, too much hatred, and obsession. And they're also known as the three poisons by definition of Tibetan medicine. If someone has mental, if mental unhealthiness occurs, then the body's immune system will decline, which means the body is very easy to be infected with viruses and bacteria. Just like without a war, a country is very susceptible to invasion from enemies. Therefore, Tibetan medicine pays special attention to mental health. 我翻完了，乔医生，请您继续。
好了，谢谢。然后就是第二大块的话，就是身体健康。为了这个身体健康吧，这个藏医特别注重这个饮食起居这两大块，始终呢告诫大家要顺从大自然的规律，季节的规律，不要违背大自然的这样的一个规律。内外就是缘起的关系，也就是相辅相成的这样的一个关系，不要违背大自然，违背自己的良心，要顺从大自然，并守住人的最起码的这样的一个行为。这就是我们那个身体健康的一个两大块。那第二大块就是呢，饮食方面，如果饮食不规律的话，没有度一日三餐那个量，非常注重藏医里的一日三餐的量是多少，这个说的也很清楚。因为饮食的规律，不规律导致了脾胃功能的紊乱，胃的功能的紊乱，逐渐呢会机体代谢的紊乱。所以现在传染病啊，这些都是说白了就是自己的机体功能的一个下降，免疫力的下降，从而导致整个机体免疫系统的紊乱。这样的话，恶性循环将会隐患一系列的疾病的产生。所以呢，藏医极其重视胃功能的及代谢功能的正常和保护。我们这个藏医里头呢，把胃称为非沃的稻田。没有这个非沃的稻田，就无法产出季节的丰收。所以的话，同样没有强大的胃的功能，胃的消化吸收的功能，就没有强大的这样的一个机体的一个免疫。所以呢，藏医这个认为，规律的饮食起居是机体健康的第一要素和保障，也就是说，疾病恢复健康的不可或缺的一个药物。藏医治疗方法好吧，你就翻这一块吧，好吧，谢谢。
Okay, the second big part is physiological health. Tibetan physicians pay special attention to diet and daily life for physiological health. They always want everyone to obey the laws of nature and the laws of seasons, and not to violate the laws of nature. They refuse to do everything that is contrary to nature and his own conscience. It is necessary to conform to nature and keep a minimum baseline. And diet is also very important. The diet rules, degrees, and the amount of 3 meals a day are very important because the diet rules lead to disorders of the spleen. If the diet went out of a rule, it will lead to disorders of the spleen and stomach and gradually undermines the metabolism of the entire body, which would mean the disorder of the entire body's immune system and the occurrence of a series of diseases. Therefore, Tibetan doctors attach great importance to the protection of gastric and metabolism. The stomach is called the rice field, and the rice field cannot produce a good harvest without necessary fertility. Similarly, without a good stomach, there is no strong body immunity. 贾医生，请您继续。
好了，谢谢。然后藏医治疗的方法总的可以概括为4大类，就是饮食、起居、药物、外治这4大块，就是藏医的整个一个大概的一个总的概括来说，就4大块。然后4大疗法再往细分的话，那就是我们藏医的就18大那一个治疗的一个方法。再往细分的话，那就很多了。所以这样的话，今天呢，我大概的给大家讲一下藏医对医bệnh的总的一个认识。一个呢，概括起来就是说是内因和外因。现在刚才前面我也谈到了，也就是说自身的细菌和自身身体里的细胞或者细菌外侵的这个病毒的或细菌的这个侵入。至于病毒怎么进入体内，这个我们这个藏医里头说的跟西医确实不谋而合。所以藏医理论也说，这个病毒通过咱们的这个呼吸道 进入体内的这个体内的这个细胞里头，进入这个细胞里头钻进去以后呢，就是繁衍繁殖，导致了这个集体的感染。所以的话，藏医病里头呢，我们叫藏语叫那个医病叫念，这是我们藏医的藏语啊，意思就是念就是病毒细菌，而且是这个病毒上就是不是普通的病毒或者病毒，也就是特别的恶毒，也就是特别的严重，这样的一个病毒叫念。然后呢，然就是传染的意思，人传人。这个的话，病毒导致的疾病可以通过空气也好，飞沫也好，可以传播的传染的话，我们叫ram，这就是藏语念ram。病症呢，就是说症状呢，我就不说了，因为大致都一样。现在的这个现代医学里说的症状跟我们藏医里说的症状都是一样的，所以的话，我就然后下面的话，治疗的法有这个4大块，比如说刚才我说了，饮食、器具、药物、外治。然后呢，藏医里的这个医病的这个药物很多，传染病的这个治疗传染病的药物很多，有口服的，比如说汤药也有，丸药也有，散药也有，熏的，比如说也有，熏的，然后就是熏的目的就是净化空气嘛，然后抗病毒这样的一个熏的，然后佩戴的，我说比如说我们久防散，但是现在我这个视频里看不到，我就带着呢，这个脖子上挂着，但是看不到，所以等会那个张峰说，然后这是一个佩戴等等，有好多药物，但是功能一般都是它们的功能一般都是抗病毒、抗感染，还有提升集体的一个免疫力的，是吧？医病的这个治疗药的，先你翻这个吧，然后再就一点点就完了。
Okay. The Tibetan medicine treatment method can be summarized into 4 categories. That is clothing, food, daily life, and medicine, and external treatment, which can be subdivided into 18 more specific treatment methods. And I will not go to details today to avoid any confusion. Today, I only give a general discussion. Tibetan doctors' general knowledge of disease is both internal and external. As for how the virus enters the body, it's the same as what modern medicine says. Tibetan medicine theory also says that the virus enters the cells of the body through a respiration tract to multiply and replicate, leading to body infection. Tibetan doctor of the epidemic disease calls it Niran. Ni means virus or bacterium, and it's not an ordinary germ, but a vicious, serious germ or virus. And Ram means infection, which is transmitted and spread from person to person. The disease caused by this virus can be transmitted through air and droplets. 我翻译完了，叫李佳医生，请您继续。
谢谢。然后咱们这个医病那个传染病的治疗药的，我们藏医理论就是起初最早不能用寒性的一些大的药物，寒性大的一些药物应该分为3步走。第一步呢，就是医病初期用一些功能平稳大这样的一些药物来驱邪扶正，采取呢什么的我们即日平稳的疗法。然后呢，发病中期呢，这是初期；发病中期呢，就是散热、驱邪、提升机体的一些功能，抑制传播，这样为主。中期，后期呢，治疗以安抚身心、调养、防治并发症的一些治疗手段。外治呢，然后我们这个刚才我前面说的一个外治的疗法，外治疗法一般都要看病情，他们需不需要看症状而定，不是说都要用。比如说艾灸，然后一般的这个艾灸的用的目的是什么呢？一般都是防止这个疾病的扩散，扩散到主要的一些脏器，抑制是这样的一个方法。所以呢，还有一个提升免疫功能的这样的一个作用。所以我刚才说的这些大概的这个藏医的这个框架、理论框架也好，对藏医对医病的一些认识，它的一些主要的一个要点，我就讲完了。谢谢。
Okay, so as the final remarks of the whole speech, I'd like to give some examples on some methods for Tibetan medicine. As for internal method, it mainly goes with 3 stages. The first stage is mainly balance. Try to balance every element containing human bodies. And the second stage would be to remove the bad blood and remove the bad fever. And the third stage would be more mild. It'll be mainly to restore the balance of the body after conquering the diseases. This is how the internal method works. As for the external methods, I will only focus on acupuncture. Even though although not all the symptoms can be cured by acupuncture, but acupuncture can stand for as a very typical example for these methods. It can serve as to curb the spread of the disease, especially among some internal organs like stomach and liver. And that's all of my speech. Thank you very much. 好了，翻译完了，谢谢你，焦佳医生。
谢谢你。
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jiao Jia. Next, let us welcome Dr. Fan. He is Dr. Jiao Jia's colleague, who is also from Beijing Tibet Hospital, to give us deeper insights and a broader view.
谢谢你。
Thank you. I'm so honored to be invited to introduce Tibetan medicine preventing COVID-19 in Beijing Tibet Hospital. At present, traditional Chinese medicine has a very obvious therapeutic effect on COVID-19. These achievements are obvious to us. I would like to introduce some cases about Tibet medicine. Tibet medicine has a long history in dealing with sudden respiratory outbreaks. It is an effective traditional method to use 九味防蚊散, which is this one is the 九味防蚊散. This is a Tibet medicine epidemic prevent sachet containing 9 kinds of rare Tibet drugs. During the SARS epidemic in 2003, Master Su Silang, a very famous Tibet doctor of China, instructed his disciple Professor Dengba Daqi to prepare this Tibet medicine sachet in Beijing Tibet Hospital of China Traumatology Center, which were widely used in Beijing for the first time. And according to user feedback, no people wearing this sachet were found to be infected with SARS virus. And to prevent COVID-19, on the basis of the recipe used in 2003 during the SARS epidemic, Professor Zhong Gejia, the director of Beijing Tibet Hospital, and Professor Dengba Daqi, and guide me to analyze the symptoms of COVID-19, optimize the ratio of medicine materials, and produce a batch of 九味防蚊散 to help our medical staff in our hospital against COVID-19. Of course, some of these Tibet medicine sachets were also denoted to NOPO to prevent COVID-19. According to the theory of Tibet medicine, this sachet may stimulate lung, just as Dr. Jiao Jia introduced, stimulate lung to produce the effects of protection and resistance, and also the purification of the air around the wearer. It can be understood that the wearer wears invisible protective equipment. When we use this sachet, we should sniff it several times every morning and keep it on your chest all day. So I think, first of all, its fragrance. A fragrance may improve the resistance of the respiratory tract so that the virus is hard to invade. At the same time, the perfume makes it difficult for virus to survive in the air around the wearer, so as to prevent virus invasion. Among the transmission routes of COVID-19, the aerosol route. The aerosol route is the most difficult to prevent. Through the above analysis, I think this Tibet sachet is likely to prevent virus invasion by cutting off aerosol transmission. Of course, that's just an inference. Now some research is already underway, and I think the subsequent days will help us to reveal how it works. In brief, I think this 9味防蚊散 sachet have obvious effects in preventing epidemic. It's potentially for general public daily protection. Of course, I should emphasize that this product does not take the place of masks and standard treatment. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Feng, for diving deeper into the topic, showing us the richness of traditional Tibetan medicine. Next, let us warmly welcome some doctors from Nepal sides. First, let's welcome Professor Uttam Krishna Shretha, Executive Director of Manmohan Cardiothoracic Vascular and Transplant Center, Institute of Medicine, TU, to share his feelings and experience.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, we are not in a position to tell you what we have been doing to fight against COVID-19. So basically, to make you recognize what we have been doing, I thought that our part from the ministry, two of the personnel, they would have spoken a lot about what we have been doing in Nepal. So I am not telling you what we have been doing in Nepal, but I'm just giving you a scenario, what is happening inside our complex. That is, ours is a university hospital, and I'm Dr. Uttam Krishna Shretha, Executive Director of one of the hospitals. We are a university hospital, and in our complex, we have 3 centers. One is popularly known as Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital, who deals with most of the ailments. And next center is Eye Center, who deals with all the ophthalmology cases. And our center is dedicated to cardiac, thoracic, and vascular. So we call it Cardiothoracic and Vascular Center. So basically, this is our introduction. And I'm not actually in a position to say what we have been doing to fight against COVID-19. We have been taking very simple measures to fight against COVID-19. So it's been almost a month that lockdown has started. It's from March 24th, our government has declared lockdown and people are obeying it. So it's the government directives that we have been following. Like in our center, in 3 centers, and one of the building was dedicated to isolation ward in our hospital. So far we have not have much cases. So far 16 isolation cases, and one of them was in ICU. So we have done so far 45 RT-PCR. So this is the 45 and 12 rapid tests. And fortunately, all of them turned out to be negative. So if you say that we are not a dedicated COVID hospital for a couple of days back, now the scenario has changed and the government has now declared our hospital, that is teaching hospital, Manmohan Center and Eye Center, as a level 3 hospital, meaning by ours is a tertiary hospital. And if a patient has COVID-19 and he has a complexity of doing intervention or complexity with doing, say, major surgeries like cardiovascular, thoracic, or neurosurgery like that, if the patient comes out to be COVID-19 positive, then we are supposed to treat those patients. So far, we have non-existing cases, so 0 cases to tackle with them. So we do not have much experience on what we have been doing to fight against COVID-19. We have planned a much, so simple planning, like say teaching medical staff or teaching non-medical professionals, because at the time we are only contemplating, say, emergency surgeries or emergency intervention. So we are very much free at the moment. So catching this free movement, we have been teaching to medical personnel and non-medical personnel what to do to fight against COVID-19 if that actually exists inside our hospital. We have been talking to the various groups, and we usually use the Viber as an app and we have been having meeting one and another meeting day and night time, so we can spread our knowledge what is happening in the world and what we should, how we should be prepared. I was hoping that our personnel from the ministry would have tell you a lot more about what is happening inside the country. So I'm not an authority, I'm not in a position to tell you everything, but I think later on, one of my colleagues will tell what is happening inside the country. So we are planning, and now the question is, it's been 1 month and we have not dealing with the patient. Now we are thinking that maybe after a couple of weeks or after a month, we have to open up the patient and we have to open up the hospital slowly. And I think for this, we have to know most of the things from the Chinese, our colleagues who have been now, say, starting their work day-to-day life. They have come back in the day-to-day life. And we are trying to get the messages, get the information from them. How do we start? How do we unlock the country, and how do we gear up the management in the hospital? Say safety is the major thing that we are. Though being a level 3 hospital, we have not started our PCR inside the hospital, but the government has promised to give us the machine so that we can test inside the teaching hospital complex. So this is basically what we have been doing inside the hospital. So at the moment, we are very safe. We are very safe in the sense that we have not had the same positive case of the COVID-19, but nobody knows that there may be COVID-19 positive cases, say, inside the valley. We are safe inside the hospital. So maybe after talking about my colleagues, if I have a question, I will put my question to the Chinese counterpart. Thank you for arranging this meeting.
Thank you, Professor Uttam Krishna Shrestha. Next, let's warmly welcome Dr. Anu Bastola, MD, MCTM, Chief Consultant, Tropical Medicine, Head Academic Unit, Department of Tropical Medicine.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Good afternoon, everyone. So I represent a COVID designated hospital in Kathmandu Valley. So the name of our hospital is Sukraraj Tropical and Infectious Disease Hospital. So since the first case we diagnosed in our hospital, he came on 13th of January from Wuhan. So we isolated him, we tested him, and he came positive. Since then, we started our isolation facility. And till now, we admitted around 180 cases of suspected cases of COVID-19. Out of them, 3 cases we diagnosed till now. And we are treating 1 case. So what we experience is like the cases that we kept in our hospital are young, but they show only mild and moderate symptoms. So the first case had fever, cough, and he had shortness of breath, but it was episodic at night. The saturation dropped up to 86, okay, for 2 nights, but he recovered very fast, for next 2 days. Then we admitted another 2 cases. One was a case that like imported from France, and the case was a 19-year female. She developed shortness of breath for 2 days. She had a lot of fatigue and cough, and she didn't develop any complication. We did chest X-ray, but the chest X-ray finding was normal. And then another case arrived. He came from Dubai, and the case presented to us with a history of cough and fever. We isolated him, and he developed shortness of breath for 2 nights also. But the chest X-ray finding was normal. So altogether, 3 cases we admitted, and 3 of them developed mild to moderate symptoms. The first case had a dropped saturation up to 86, and second and third cases, the saturation was below 94, but above 90. none of our cases required oxygenation. And the second case, the female, 19-year female, complained a lot of fatigue in between and shortness of breath. But her X-ray, was negative. The blood reports were sent, and one of our client had CRP positive. We don't have quantitative CRP available here. So we have designated 5 isolation facility, and now we are going to develop around 25 isolation facility in a ward. And we have already started making a 20-bed ICU facility, but because of limited resources, so we can manage only 6 ventilators now. Maybe later on, if the number of cases increase, we might get help from Ministry of Health or other helping agencies. So other than these 3 cases, we also admitted around 177 cases in our isolation facility. Those who came from countries where the community transmission was ongoing, and they have symptoms. But we did RT-PCR and it came negative. And in some cases, we repeated RT-PCR after 3 days also, because we suspected a lot, but the RT-PCR came negative. So we repeated after 3 days. And some of them, most of them, they all had negative RT-PCR, but we told them to stay in home quarantine for the next for 14 days, and we told them to come as soon as possible if they have any symptoms, or anyone in the family they develop symptoms when they go into quarantine. So none of those cases came to us. So we are already a designated COVID hospital. We have emergency facility with 8 beds. And we have isolation facility. We are expanding isolation facility, and we are planning to establish more ICU beds for COVID cases. So nowadays we are getting a lot of cases which are with fever, and also the problem now arises due to social stigma among people who are returned from India. So we are getting a lot of cases, like 60 to 70 cases, because of stigma, discrimination. They are coming to us, and we just wanted to assure them like they are not infected with COVID, and they need reports. So we are doing government provided RDTs. So this is what we have up to now. This is all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anu Pastala. Next, let us warmly welcome Dr. Shar Bahadua Kumar, Senior Consultant Physician. Dr. Shar Bahadua Kumar, are you with us? Okay, so next, let's warmly welcome Dr. Rupak Bandari, Assistant Professor, Department of General Practice and Emergency Medicine, BPKIHS, Dhara. Dr. Rupak Bandari, are you with us?
Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Dharan, BP Kerala Institute of Health Sciences. It lies in eastern Nepal. And talking about the COVID preparation in our hospital. Currently, there are 20 isolation beds at BPKHS, including 2 ICU beds. And last week, this hospital was labeled as level 3 hospital. After that, a separate building is being renovated to upgrade to a dedicated COVID hospital. And currently, RT-PCR is being conducted in our hospital itself. And till now, there are 219 samples processed from different parts of Province 1. And fortunately, all of the tests have come to be negative. And apart from that, we are conducting the help desk for the suspected cases for international travelers and with symptoms. The help desk is open 24 hours, and a fever clinic is conducted every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that also runs every day, including Saturdays. And for there are also dedicated helpline numbers, and the helpline numbers are for the patients who are suspected of having symptoms, and also for the other OPDs such as pediatrics, gynae, derma, etc. And right now, till now, there are no single cases found here, but God knows what would be the situation when the positive cases start to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rupak Bandari. Next, let us welcome Dr. Alok Pradhan, MD General Practice Emergency Medicine, Duliko.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabri, and thank you everyone from Nepal and from China, all those experts providing their opinion and their experience, which should be very much helpful for managing the ongoing, and hopefully this won't go long, but then there is a very difficult situation coming up. So I'm Alok, Dr. Alok Pradhan, currently working in Duliko Hospital. It's a Kathmandu University Hospital. So here I'm sharing some of my knowledge regarding the strategies that our hospital has been implementing in order to combat with COVID-19. So first of all, the hospital plan. Duliko Hospital has made a plan to combat COVID-19. It's unique in the sense that it has made a separate facility in order to take care of suspected and proven COVID-19 infection patients. So, if at all we have a suspected patient, then we won't be much worried about the patient infecting other patients within the hospital premises. So, having said that, we still have the patients who are suspected, but then don't disclose the travel history or exposure history right at the entry point. So it's a bit risky, but then the hospital has made a plan that tries to keep the patients and other healthcare workers comparatively away from the suspected patients. And in addition to that, we also have been doing the real-time PCR investigation in our setup. So as per the information that I have received, we have investigated 500 plus patients for COVID-19, and none of them has fortunately come positive. But let's see what the future has for us. In addition to that, we also run those fever clinics and the triage, including help desks, with the help of our junior doctors, including the local authorities like municipality and the Nepal Army as well. And there are also regular daily meetings with the hospital authorities regarding the new updates and new advances in the healthcare and other aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And there have been regular updates with respect to those as well. So we do experience quite a lot of changes with respect to clinical care and other aspects of the patients. The problem with us is, as I have mentioned earlier, patients now have started to, for some reason, to hide their exposure or travel history. And because of that, we have been facing quite a lot of problems. At least 2 to 3 cases have already been said so. They later on, after admission to the general ward, have disclosed their exposure history, and due to which we were having quite a lot of panic inside the hospital. But fortunately, the tests have come to be negative. So we have been safe till now. Hopefully, we will be able to manage the cases if at all they come to us. Till now, we have had 2 suspected cases where rapid diagnostic tests positive, but the PCR were negative. So till now, only 2 patients. Hopefully, the investigations will be increased. The number of investigations will be increased. The threshold of investigating patients will decrease, and we will be testing more patients, and we will be being safe. And from China, the support that has been provided is very commendable, and we hope that this support will be continued in coming future as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alok. And thank you all the doctors for earnest speeches, drawing an outline scope for the coming dialogues, which part is that everyone is most excited about. However, despite excitement, in order to maintain the order of the discussion, which is the highest priority for our conference, I would kindly ask every doctor, if you wish to speak, whether to raise or answer the question, please type your name in the chat box, along with the Chinese doctors and you want to receive an answer from. For example, Dr. Alok Pradhan, Dr. Zhao Jia. And then I will call your name and unmute your microphone. Thank you very much. So now comes to our discussion part. And I already see that some doctor has already typed their name in the chat box. I saw the name of Dr. Kunja Akarya. So what question do you have, and which doctor from China would you like to receive an answer from? Dr. Kunja Akarya, can you hear me? Okay, so it seems that the discussion is open to all the doctors. So for all the Nepal doctors in the panelist, which means that you can see every discussion and all the details here. So do you have any questions you want to raise for Chinese doctors? Okay, Dr. Branjas Subkota, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for organizing and thank you for letting me speak now. I raised my hand because I thought the discussion was being interrupted.
I'm sorry, your voice is very low. Could you please turn your voice?
Yes, now. Thank you very much.
Could you please turn it louder again, because we still cannot hear you?
Oh, this is the loudest I know. I'm afraid I can't make it louder. Am I still not audible? Am I audible? Hello?
Better than before, but you can still turn it on a little bit larger.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try to speak louder then.
Okay, yeah, we can hear now.
Yeah, thank you very much for organizing all this. And I've been hearing very attentively whatever I can understand. Although the part on traditional Chinese medicine was obviously a bit difficult to grasp, because we are listening it for the first time. I have some echoes. I don't know whether it's mine. So the question from Dr. Kunjan Acharya, who could not ask the question himself, was, is there any experience with the much touted drug hydroxychloroquine in the treatment of COVID patients? I don't exactly know whom to pose this question to, which of the Chinese colleague, but so if any of you feel able to answer my questions, please volunteer, because I cannot pick up a Chinese colleague because we're seeing each other for the first time, and I don't precisely know who can answer my question. So this is an open question to all the Chinese friends, if I may.
Yeah, I'll take this question.
Thank you.
So yeah, as you know, we don't have very specific and very effective antivirus drugs in the treatment of COVID-19. So far, we have some drugs, we have some very solid evidences and shows that the hydroxychloroquine is very effective in the treatment of the very severe type of patient. But I don't think it works in the very mild or moderate type of the patient. And we already finished the manuscript, but it's still under review. And if I get that draft, I will send that to you. we found that the hydroxychloroquine can reduce around 30% of the mortality of the critical ill patient. So I suggest you can try that the hydroxychloroquine in the ICU ward or in the very severe patient.
Thank you very much. I still have one more question if I can ask.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so because I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Uttam was my director. He just spoke to lead all the Nepali team. So my question is, we are nestled in a complex of hospitals where there are almost all the departments, from ophthalmology to cardiac surgery, from neurosurgery to gynecology. So what are your 2 cents about managing COVID patients who may have multiple problems, how to isolate them? All of the doctors will be exposed if the patient has multiple problems. And, you know, apart from corona hospitals or COVID hospitals handling mild and moderate cases, what are the specific requirements or preparations we have to take when we are in a multi-specialty hospital, like the way you are, I guess?
So your question is about the protection of the mechanical doctors and nurses, right?
Protection of the staff and the overall logistic management, the way to keep the patients. All the ICUs inside the premises will be occupied by at least one patient. All those kind of things.
First of all, you need to classify the patient into the mild one, the moderate one, or severe one. For the mild or very moderate patient, there's not very necessary to admit them. You can keep them in the very specific isolated point. Like we have, you know, in China, we have some very huge hospital called the Fangchang Hospital, you know. So that hospital is just for the very mild or moderate patient. They don't need very specific monitoring or management. You can just to admit them as much as you can. That's the most important purpose, is to isolate them from the very healthy patient, very healthy people. So this is the first part of the patient. The second one is for the management of the severe or the critical severe patient. Absolutely, they need to be admitted. They need to be hospitalized, because some of them can develop very fast. As I showed in my slides, the mortality rate of the severe patient is as high as 60%. That's really high. So if you want to reduce mortality, the most important job for you is to treat the severe and the critical severe patient. And also, I would like to share some acknowledgement about the PPE in the clinical guides. You know, if you have a very close contact with confirmed cases or highly suspected cases, that's very important for you to protect yourself very well. Before you take care of them, be sure that you can have a very good protection. So if you work in the ward or in the ICU of COVID-19 patient, I think the N95 is the most important. You know, this is pneumonia. This is infected by the lungs, by the respiratory system. So the first step is to keep away from the virus by using a very good mask. And if you don't have very close contact with the confirmed cases, and I think that at that time, the surgical mask may be enough. But for the patient in the ICU or in the ward, N95 is necessary. And also, if you need to do some bedside operation for the patient, I think apart from the N95 mask and another PPE, including the face shield, the water-resistant goggles, and also the protective suit, are also very necessary for the protection. You know, in China, we have over 3,000 medical staff that was infected in the epidemic, and 61 died. That's a great loss to Chinese medicine. So I suggest you and your colleagues be protected very well by the PPE. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rajan, for the questions, and thank you, Dr. Zhou, for answering them. And I think the next question would be, wait a second, let me see. There have been too many people posting their names. It would be Dr. Alkhan. and her question is about after control the cases in the country itself, and then you start having importing cases from foreign places from outside the country. So how are you handling such cases? As this might be a threat for the second spike of disease. I'm not sure whose question is this. Is it Dr. Abha? So could you please, if I'm not saying this question right, could you please speak and answer the question and ask the question for me? Dr. Abha, are you with us?
Hello everyone. Thank you. Yeah, I was asking a question about the control cases that we already have in China, and then after a controlling time, you started to have imported cases again. So how are you handling such cases, as there can be a chance of having a second spike? And how are you continuing with your COVID surveillance system in China? Because it seemed to be very strong in China, so that you could decrease the spike very soon. So did you have any kind of management system in the lower resource setup as well in rural China?
You mean the mental disease, right? The mental disorder in the COVID-19 patient?
Yeah, that is another question. That how did you address the mental health issues? Did you, train anyone, any kind of health cadres other than psychiatrist or psychologist? Because you may not have psychiatrists and psychologists in the rural setup as well. So how did you manage with the mental health issues in those areas? Thank you.
Yeah, we have a psychologist team in my hospital who can provide the support for every ward. And yeah, I have some communication with the expert in the psychiatrist. They will talk. I mean, that's a so-called telemedicine. They can call the patient in the ward, or they can have a very internet video and have very detailed talk with the patient in the ICU ward or in the isolated ward. So that's what they did in my hospital. And secondly, they will go to the bedside to see the patient almost every day. That's a the infectious area for our physicians. So they will go bedside and prescribe for the patient. And yeah, that's a very big issue of great concern, as you said, is a mental disease and mental issues for the COVID-19 patient. Some of the patients need a very strong sedation, and especially for those who need a ventilation or who need a intubation because of their respiratory failure. So in this case, I think, as you said, that's a very important issue. Thank you.
Okay, Dr.
Yeah,
questions? Oh, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I actually had another question about the COVID surveillance system in China. Anyone can answer my question.
Yeah, you can state your problem. You can state your question now.
Yeah, do you want me to ask the question again?
So are you repeating the same question? If you're repeating the same question, then we need to do the second one because we have more doctors coming after that.
Yeah. So let me do it quickly. Then I actually asked about the control cases in China, and then having the imported cases. So how are you prepared to prevent the second spike in the country with the COVID surveillance system, even including the low resource setup in China? Thank you.
I'm not very clear about your question. You mean the what do you mean? It means is that a public health system?
Yes, it's related to the public health system. So, like,
I'm a medical doctor. I'm not very sure about this question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I already see in the chat box that Dr. Rupak has another question for Dr. Joe. Dr. Rupak, are you with us? Could you please ask Joe personally? Thank you.
Yeah. As we can see that the sensitivity of RT-PCR for nasopharyngeal swab is around 65%, and that of oropharyngeal swab is around 40%. So what about the false negative cases in the test?
Yeah, that's a very important question. So, for this is a question about the diagnosis of the COVID-19 patient. If the RT-PCR result is negative, but you still highly suspected that the patient is a COVID-19 patient, you need to do repeat the PCR firstly. As the sensitivity of the PCR kit is not so very high, in China is around 60% to 70%. So if we get a very negative result, we'll repeat it. And secondly, we need to do the detection of the antibodies of the coronavirus. Also, and for those patients who have a symptom of pneumonia, the CT scan of the chest is also very necessary. So we'll combine all of these results together and to diagnose this patient very comprehensively. So first one is a PCR, second one is the detection of antibodies, and the third one is the non-CT scan. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rupak, for your question. Thank you, Joe, for answering it. And the question comes after that is from Dr. Udaya, also to Dr. Joe. Dr. Udaya, are you with us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Joe. 我是Udaya，我是北大毕业的。My question is, do you have any experience about prophylactic aspirin for this hypercoagulability and microvascular thromboembolism? This role of aspirin. Another is role of antihistamine for this cytokine storm. Thank you.
Okay, I got a question. So it's a very clinical question. Firstly, it's very clear that all of the COVID-19 patients, especially for the very severe COVID-19 patient, is a very high angulation. I mean, they absolutely need the anticoagulation therapy. So here's the thing. So the aspirin is not for the anticoagulation. It is antiplatelet drugs, right? So it is for the thrombolysis. But for the COVID-19 patient who is for the severe COVID-19 patient who is always lying in bed, has very few movement. So for those patients, we should be very careful about the VTE and the thrombolysis and the pulmonary embolism. For this patient, we give the heparin or the low molecular heparin, like the phenolics. So for this patient, I don't think aspirin is very helpful. Secondly, his timing, we don't have.
Yeah, but I'm asking about for the mild patients as a prophylactic.
Okay,
yeah, prophylactic.
For the mild patient, we don't have very solid evidence to support that the aspirin works in the mild patient, because they don't have very strong indicators to use aspirin unless they have a cardiovascular problem. Is that clear? So second question is his timing is helpful in the to stop a cytokine storm, but for us, steroid and also use immunoglobulin. For I mean both steroid and immunoglobulin is immunotherapy, immunoregulation therapy. We have some experience on this, especially for those very severe patients. Steroid may be very necessary to stop the cytokine storm and to reduce the lung lesion. And also immunoglobulin may help, but I don't think his timing may help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for your question and your answers. And our next question would come from Dr. Ranjas Savkota. And his question is that he wanted to hear from any Chinese colleague about, so I think this question is for all Chinese colleagues, And since I can personally understand this question because it does not require much specific knowledge background, so I'm going to translate into Chinese so that anyone from the Chinese side could answer it, and I can also translate that into English, translate that back into English. So Dr. Renja, could you please first raise the question and then I'll translate into Chinese. Thank you. Dr. Renja, are you with us? Okay. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe Dr. Renja is not in the panelist. But anyway, it's raised. We'll answer it anyway. So I would speak the question and I will translate into Chinese. The question is, we want to hear from any Chinese colleague about how best to re-sterilize the gowns and masks. We're planning to use UVC irradiation on a large scale. Any suggestions? 这句话的中文意思是，他们想知道如何对口罩和防护服进行2次消毒。我们想要通过紫外线的方式进行消毒。请问中国的医生有什么建议吗？
So let me take this question.
Okay.
I don't think that's a good idea to reuse the single-use PPE like the mask, especially for those medical doctors who need to close contact with the COVID-19 patient. You know, especially for the N95, I don't think it can be reused. But for those who is in a very severe lack of the provision of the PPE, if you have to do this, UV maybe not help to sterilize the N95. You know, the virus is very, very small. It's not only contaminated the very surface of the N95 mask. It can into the middle layer of the N95, and as in this case, the UV cannot kill all of the virus. And if you reuse it, the virus will come into your bodies. So that's very dangerous. And you know, the N95, I don't know what the rules in Nepal, but in China, the N95 can only be used for 4 to 6 hours. That means if you continuously work in the ward, in the COVID-19 patient ward, every 6 hours you need to change it, the N95 masks for good protection. So I'm not sure whether I make sense. So my suggestion is not to reuse the N95. Also the surgical mask for a better protection of the medical staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zhou, for your answer. And any other Chinese colleagues might have some idea on this? Maybe some friends from Huanggang City? 黄冈市的朋友们，你们有什么对于这个问题有什么看法吗？ Okay, so let's move on to the next question. It's actually a question from Arjun Larmich. So could you please tell us your question?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Zhang.
I can hear you.
Do you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Do you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, very clear.
Sorry.
Yeah, hearing me? Hello?
Okay, so just go ahead with your question. We can hear you very, very clearly.
Okay, I also hear you. I'm orthopedic faculty in TU Teaching Hospital, Kathmandu. As Dr. Uttam said, we have 3 centers inside one premises. Okay. And now for the prevention and for the preparedness for the COVID-19, we have isolated one building for the COVID-19 patients. My question is, since this hospital is a multi-speciality tertiary level hospital, would we have all the orthopedic services like total hip replacement, spine surgery, knee replacement, all the sports injuries, cardiac surgery, ophthalmology, transplantation surgery, and so. My question is, is it possible to manage the COVID positive patient in one of the building inside the premises, since this hospital has been granted by the government as a COVID-3 level hospital? I mean to manage the cases which are COVID positive but need specialized surgery. What is your experience on that? Whether non-COVID surgery can be done in one hospital premises where there are COVID-19 positive patients also are there? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not very clear about your question. So you mean how to manage the patient recovered from the severe type and after the dischargement, how to manage them? Is that right?
No. Managing COVID positive and negative patient in one hospital premises.
Okay, I see. So the management, the positive and the negative COVID-19 patient, right? Is that right?
Yes, that is the question.
Yeah, I think
Hey,
you get it. Yeah.
Hassan, did you get his question?
Yeah, I think you get it the right way. How positive negative cases in one hospital. I think that's the question.
Yeah, in China, we have some very exclusive hospital which is designated exclusive for the treatment of the COVID-19 patient, to make sure that there's no the infectious in the hospital. And so what I suggest is to isolate all of the COVID-19 positive patients from the negative one. Don't hospitalize them in the same hospital, especially don't hospitalize them in the same ward. That's very dangerous. You know, in the very beginning, in the very early stage, we don't know how infectious the coronavirus is. So there's a lot of the exchanging infections in the hospital between the COVID-19 patient and the non-coronavirus infected patient. So that's why in the very early stage, we have a lot of new cases confirmed every day. I'm not sure about the condition in Nepal currently. So my suggestion is to isolate as much as you can for the COVID-19 patient, and don't let them go back to the community, and don't let them go back to their workplace. That's the most important for the two steps to stop the epidemic. First one, to find out the source of the infection. Secondly, to cut off the transmission pathway. So only in this case you can stop the epidemic. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your questions and answers. And next will be Dr. Alok. Dr. Alok, are you with us? Doctor.
Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
go ahead, please.
Thank you. My question is actually related to the previous one with respect to PPE. As by now you must have understood that Nepal is very short of personal protective equipment. So what we have been trying and doing is trying to reuse the PPEs after sterilization and all. But according to your statement previously told, it's difficult to reuse PPE, including N95 mask. You says that 4 to 6 hours is the maximum time that you can use one PPE, one N95. We have been using it for days after reusing, after disinfecting it and reusing it, because we are very short of it, and we are been looking after the suspected cases. So what's your take on that? Like, can we by any other means be safe and take care of the patients as well, or there is no any alternative of PPE? Thank you.
Yeah, I got a question. I totally agree with you that the self-protection for the medical doctors and nurses are the most great concern for our physicians. You know, for a set of the PPE, include the protective suit, include the face mask, N95, surgical mask, gloves, and also the goggles, the water-resistant goggles. Some of them can be reused. You know, so gloves, that's single-used, cannot be used, right? For the mask, that's the most important part of the PPE. For not only the N95, but also the surgical mask, when you weld before you enter the ward, that's not for reused. That's just single-used. But for the goggles, the water-resistant goggles, that can be reused, and that's what we did in China now. We reused them to sterilize them, and then can reuse the goggles. And also for the protective suits, that's not be reused, because you know the protective suit, if it's broken, that would be a loss of function, so that cannot be used. But for the face shield, I think that can be reused. The face shield is only used when you have a very close contact with the patient, or you have a bedside operation with the COVID-19 patient, and you need it. Otherwise, that's not very sorry to use it in the ward. And yeah, apart from the PPE, I think another two things you should pay attention to. The first one is the very clear, the safe social distance. If you have to have a contact with the patient, be sure that you don't need to talk or contact with them face to face. Just 1 to 2 meters away, that's a very safe distance for you. And secondly, and also to make sure that you have a very good habit of hand wash. So wash your hand every time after you contact with the patient or with the private steps of the patient. So you know the two pathway of the infection of coronavirus. The first one is the droplet, and second one is the contact. So if you have a very good prevention about these two pathways, I think you will reduce the possibility of being infectious very much. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhou. Just to clarify, clear it myself, what do you recommend? Like if we get a mild case of COVID-19, and then do we need to gear up with all PPEs, or simple protective measures would be enough by maintaining safe distance and hand washing practices? And that would be my end of the question. Thank you.
What's the question?
What would you recommend if you get a mild case of COVID-19? Do you need to gear up with all those PPE, or just keeping the safe distance and hand washing practices and other protective measures rather than PPE, full-on PPE?
Yeah, it depends. You know, for those very mild patients, or for those asymptomatic patients, that's not very necessary to take all of this PPE. For example, if this patient is just a very mild one, is admitted in the Fangchang hospital, so if you have to take care of them, I think the N95 and gloves, and also with protective suits, that's enough for you. But if you need work in the ICU, like what I did in the past 2 months, that's very, very necessary to protect yourself very, very well. Because in the world of ICU or in other very severe patient, the concentration of the virus in the air is very high. If you breathe them, inspire them, that absolutely you will be infected by the coronavirus. So it depends. It depends on how close you need to contact with the patient, and how much you will be exposed in the coronavirus. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Dr. Cho, host has asked me to have the last question. So like the environment in ICU, so will it be like ear burn, where you are changing PPE in the rooms? So will it be like ear burn, because most of them still stick on this droplet transmission? So what is your experience, and what is the most important part in PPE?
So working in the ICU ward of COVID-19 patient, that's very very common that the airborne is also a very important transmission pathway. So for us, a very good PPE that's necessary. Apart from this, and my suggestion is that if you need to do the intubation or the other bedside operation for the patient, apart from the PPE, you need also a head cover. I mean, the head cover to cover your bodies from the head to the body. I mean, that's the positive is a positive head cover. This head cover is like a helmet. It's very like a helmet. I'm not sure whether there's that kind of the helmet in your country. Here we use this the positive head cover to protect the physician who need to do the bedside operation or to do the ventilation for the patient to prevent the airborne infection pathway. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And what do you think is the most important is mask, N95 mask?
Mask, yes, that's the most important part. N95, not only the surgical mask, but also the N95.
Thank you. It was very clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I believe that we're going to take the last question, which is displayed on the screen, which is asked by Dr. Abinaya Luedo. What is your opinion? Blah, blah, blah. So could you please answer this question? Dr. Joe, please. Dr. Joe, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Did you see the question displayed on the screen? Then that will be our final question for today's conference. So could you please kindly ask it?
Okay, let me see screen.
Thank you. It has been shared on the probing screen. Can you please just check it? And you will see it.
So may I read for you? I'm there. Yeah. So what is your opinion for cases who are RDT positive but RT-PCR are negative? Anything that needs to be done with these patients?
What's the provision of RDT?
It's抗体 RDT antibody.
Oh, antibody. Okay, I see. That's a good question. So if the patient, the antibody, I mean the IgM or IgG is both positive, but the PCR is negative. So it depends. If the IgM is positive, but the RT-PCR is negative, that means the patient was infected recently, maybe in the past 1 week. That means the RT-PCR is not so sensitive, but the IgM antibody is much more sensitive than RT-PCR. For this one, he is still a confirmed case, so need to be isolated and treatment. For those who has a positive IgG and a negative PCR, that means this patient was infected by the COVID-19 by the coronavirus, but it recovered. He is not infectious anymore, so that's safe for him. So he can go back home and go back to the community. So for those, I mean, I think I already answered the question, right? So just for the different kind of the result of the antibody detection and the PCR result, right? Is that clear?
Yes, I think it's clear. So there is another question, like for healthcare workers who are on duty for limited time. So the time should be short enough, like 4 to 6 hours. What do you suggest?
Yeah, I think there's 2 reasons. The first one is the PPE. The duration of the PPE for a very good protection of the physicians is 4 to 6 hours. As I said in just a few minutes ago, the mask cannot protect you for a very long time. Just 4 or 5 or 6 hours later, there's too much virus contaminate your mask. That means it's not safe anymore. In this case, you need to go out to the non-contagious area and take off your protective suit. So this is the first reason. And secondly, I'm not sure whether you already work in the ICU ward or in the other COVID-19 patient ward. If you have a have a full of the PPE and then you work in the ward for over 2 or 3 months, you will be very, very tired because of the N95 and also the surgical mask will prevent you to breathe very well. You will be short of breath, you will fatigue, and sometimes you will feel palpitation and very fatigued. So in this case, it's not safe for the medical doctors and nurses to continue working in the ward. And that's what I always provoked, that before you take care of your patient, be sure to protect yourself very well. So that's why our Chinese government always ask our medical doctors and nurses to not work too much and work too long time in the ICU ward or in the N95 in the COVID-19 patient ward. That's why I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you all the doctors for your questions, and thank you Dr. Zhou specifically for kindly answering all the questions. And you really impressed us with your deep knowledge and your specialty in all of these areas. I'm very impressed, to be honest. And so now, thank you for all your, despite everyone's utmost willingness to have more discussion, but it's already 17:11, which is even 20 minutes more than what we planned. So as the moderator, I have to call a stop here. After the event, I think everyone is becoming intimate with each other. So I believe there will be more opportunities to communicate with each other in the future. So as the organizer, I see many questions coming up in the chat box, but we don't have enough time to answer them. So we're going to collect all of these questions and we will send it to Dr. Zhou, if Dr. Zhou allows us, and then we'll send them back to you with the answers on it. And thank you everyone again for coming to the event. And finally, let's welcome one of the main organizers of the event, Mr. Praveen Maharjan, who is the Country Director of Student Association of Belt and Road Initiative of Nepal, to give us some vote of thanks. Praveen, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Am I being heard?
Yes, very clearly.
Well, all the distinguished guests, panelists, and speakers, I would like to express my in-depth thanks for providing your precious time in this precarious moment. As we understand that health personnel, security personnel, and administrative personnel are the most wanted person in the current time. They have been risking their lives to make us feel safe and keep the whole world safe. So I would like to first thank all those who have helped in keeping the world safe, right? And because the whole world is locked down now, me personally and Sabri thought that it would be a good move to organize this sort of communications, so that we can share the knowledge to strengthen all the human resources. Right. This is the main motive of our program, and I should be mentioning some names before we wrap up this session, right? Especially Monmon Cardiothoracic Center, Teaching Hospital, TU, Kitapur Municipality, and Embassy of Nepal in Beijing, right? Sabri headquarters in Beijing. Without your support, this wouldn't have come to a success. And I should also be making a special mention, like respected Sushil Lamsar sir, Mayor Ramesh Maharjan, Professor Dr. Uttam Krishna Shrestha, Dr. Alok Pradhan, Hudson yourself, Yu Xiao, the founder president of Sabri, Kripendra Omatia, Ranjit Tamang, Honorable Navina Lama, for helping me and the whole team to organize this event. Thank you, and let's work together to fight this global threat. Let's work towards strengthening the bonds, and let's work towards a shared, healthy, happy, and peaceful future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Praveen, for this kind little note and speech. We're very grateful for all the effort you have put in making this happen, in making this event happen. And as the final remarks, I'd like to invite the Executive Director of the Sabri in Tsinghua, Hazin. Are you with us, Hazin? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi everyone, I'm Hazin and Zhongxu Xie, Executive Director of Sabri Tsinghua. Thank you all the guests for all your work towards anti-coronavirus issues recently. I believe it will be very helpful to learn from your ideas today. And now I would like to firstly thank our organizer, Sabri Nepal, and our partners. And that's Embassy Nepal in Beijing, Hong Novel Coronavirus Pneumonia Prevention and Control Command, Critical Municipality, Beijing Tibet Hospital of China Tibetology Research Center, and Tongji Hospital affiliated to Tongji Medical School of Guangzhou Science and Technology University, and MCVTC, and the China Cultural Heritage Foundation International Youth Leadership Development Fund. As Sabri is the world's largest student-led organization focusing on BRI that was established in September 2018 at Tsinghua University, as one of the most diversified community, Sabri has members from all over the world, including more than 8 countries. On his flagship talk program, Inside BRI Talk, Mr. Saget, a Tsinghua student of journalism and a Sabri member from Nepal, shared Nepali perspective BRI on the student and scholarly platform in the first edition of talk program. In this case, Sabri Tsinghua later developed as Sabri Nepal, when the Sabri president, Mr. Yu Shao, with his team visited Nepal in August 2019 as a part of social practice from Tsinghua. In August 2019, the Memorandum of Understanding to establish Sabri Nepal was signed with Ms. Nabina Lama, an honorable member of the House of Representatives of Nepal, which is one of the most important organs for legislation in Nepal. Thus, Sabri Nepal has capability and support, and it may need to connect with youth around Nepal and the world. Moreover, in October 2019, right after President Xi Jinping's successful visit to Nepal, Nepal-China Youth Cooperation Forum was jointly organized by Sabri and Nepal-China Media Association in Kathmandu, with more than 100 Chinese and Nepalese scholars attending the program. In the program, Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Mr. Ishwar Pokhara gave remark that Nepal should become a land-linked country from a landlocked country, and highly praised China for the remarkable growth in 70 years. His Excellency Pao Zhao, Dr. Paras Bikram Singh, Dr. Arjun Thapa, Dr. Katyan Roka, Dr. Badkukunda Rikmi, and Mr. Milan Tulhan were among the key representatives to attend and share insights in this program. In the end, Mr. Shao, President of Sabri, and Mr. Maharjan, Director of Sabri Nepal, announced the Kathmandu Declaration on Youth Development and Cooperation. This document could become a new starting point of youth exchange between 2 countries for sharing knowledge, resources, and ideas to learn from each other. In this way, Sabri Nepal is committed in connecting to Asian neighbors and to bring the 2 countries closer. During the COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan, Sabri Nepal showed its solidarity and support in fight to contain the spread of virus. While Nepal is in lockdown now due to pandemic, Sabri at the Tsinghua University has shown its commitment to support Nepal as well. And Sabri would extend its cooperation with other major universities of Nepal, such as Kathmandu University, Pokhara University, in order to facilitate scholarly discussion to set up scholarly platform in association with Sabri Nepal for all the youth to reach their potential. Finally, in the future, Sabri will continue to build ties with our Asian neighbor Nepal, and during this special period of time, let's keep on fighting against the epidemic and continue to connect with our minds in ever-expanding Sabri family. That's what I want to say. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hazim, for this final touching little conclusion remarks. Thank you very much. And thank you all guests and participants for coming with us today. And so now this conference has ended. And so yeah, everyone feel free to leave the room and just thank you very much for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.